General Maura Healey has sued 13 manufacturers of toxic PFAS chemicals used in firefighting foam.
They say the foam has led to the contamination of drinking water sources in communities across the state, including in Westfield.
Kristen Mello welcomes health officials onto her Westfield property.
It will really help to give us more insight as to what other ways we can reduce our exposure.
Exposure to PFAS, toxic chemicals first discovered in Westfield's water back in 2013. Over the next several years, the Westfield Water Department took actions to clean the contaminated water, installing temporary and permanent water treatment facilities. By 2016, the water met all health advisories. Still, Mello has hers delivered.
It doesn't remove everything that I believe will harm me, and therefore I purchase other water.
The contamination is largely blamed on the use of firefighting foam, or AFFF, for training at Barnes Air National Guard Base dating back to the 80s. That foam is the main target of a lawsuit by Attorney General Maura Healey, who said, quote, "For decades, these manufacturers knew about the serious risks highly toxic PFAS chemicals pose to public health, the environment, and our drinking water, yet they did nothing about it." One of the 13 chemical giants she's taking aim at, 3M, said they acted responsibly when it came to the manufacture and sale of AFFF, and, quote, AFFF was a critical tool developed to serve an important need for military service members facing potentially life-threatening challenges. In 2019, testing found some Westfield residents had PFAS levels in their blood up to 4 times higher than the national levels. Mello's levels were still elevated years after the water was mitigated. One of the reasons PFAS are known as forever chemicals.
So we use zebrafish as a model to try to predict human health effects.
Inside the Moral Science Building at UMass Amherst live thousands of fish. Professor Alicia Timmy-Larragee and her team of students use fish embryos to conduct PFAS research.
One of the most striking findings that we have is that the pancreas is incredibly sensitive to these compounds.
Their research found that when embryos were exposed to a sample of AFFF, which polluted the grounds for 40 years before being phased out, the pancreas didn't grow properly.
In some cases, there's kind of a donut shape, and there's sort of this hole in the middle that we don't understand why it's there.
This could make the fish diabetic or unable to digest food. With the embryonic development of zebrafish very similar to humans, the study shows how drinking contaminated water during pregnancy can impact the unborn baby. Studies have linked PFAS exposure to liver damage, thyroid disease, decreased fertility, high cholesterol, obesity, hormone suppression, and cancer.
They suppress the immune response to vaccines, so that makes the vaccines less effective.
This finding was especially concerning over the pandemic. Mello is vaccinated against COVID-19 but has to be extra careful. She's had health issues dating back years, including lung surgery and a series of pneumonia vaccines her body didn't respond to.
It's been this medical mystery for years and years, and it wasn't until I started learning about what was happening with other people in other communities that things started to make sense.
She says more research is needed, and that's why health officials are at her home taking soil and dust samples to test for PFAS.
We need long-term health monitoring. We need medical monitoring.
She says the chemical companies who made the polluting foam should be held accountable, but she's more concerned about continued health care and ongoing mitigation.
We need a connection to an unpolluted water supply, not just a Band-Aid fix that we've got right now.
The Westfield Water Department won an award in 2019 for their PFAS response and say they're, quote, committed to supplying safe drinking water that meets or exceeds all state and federal standards. Mello hopes her push for continued testing will give those affected by PFAS tiny pieces of a puzzle that will take decades to put together.
If they don't record what happens to us, then all of this is in vain, and everyone who's gotten sick, their sickness will be overlooked and forgotten.